Hi there, my name's Steve Grady from Steve Grady Insurance Services, and today we're going to talk about employment law. I have a good friend of mine here, Chris Olmsted from Ogletree, Deakins, Nash, Smoke, and Stewart. Is that correct?
That's right.
I got it right. Okay, excellent. Well, an occurring topic that keeps coming up is, what's going to happen when people start returning to work and there are possible lawsuits coming up, and maybe you could just kind of introduce yourself, kind of give us your background, and then we'll just kind of go from there.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Steve. So like you said, I'm an employment law attorney, and what I do is I spend my time representing businesses. I don't represent employees; I only represent companies, and I help
Okay.
them. I help them with compliance with state and federal and local labor laws. That's some of what we're going to be talking about today.
Yep.
And also our law firm helps businesses when they face agency charges or employee lawsuits or other types of claims like that. So Ogletree Deakins is basically, it's a specialized law firm that helps companies deal with employment law issues.
Okay, and you're located here in San Diego, is that correct?
That's right. I'm here in San Diego, and many of my clients that I help on a regular basis are also based here locally as well.
Okay, great. Well, let's jump into it. I guess the number one would be kind of the whistleblower and retaliation and wrongful discharge due to COVID-19. And maybe you could expand on that, and any employers listening, just give them some insight of what's going on right now.
Yeah, so I think the main concern facing businesses these days is they want to open and they want to get back to regular business as soon as possible. But there's also this fear that lawyers who sue businesses for a living are also going to open up and they're going to get back to business, and their main interest is going to be finding ways to sue those businesses.
Right.
And so, of course, we have the traditional lawsuits that businesses have had to face here in California for years, for decades, but also added on top of that is a new layer of issues that can arise, particularly out of the pandemic. From my point of view, this personal opinion, I think it's sort of unfortunate that businesses have already kind of got whacked hard with the economy and having to shut down in a hurry, and now trying to do their best to reopen. And then the double whammy of, oh, while you're at it, here's a lawsuit, we're going to hit you while you're down. Right. But that said, I mean, obviously businesses always have to have legal mandates to comply with. And it's their responsibility to comply with all the state, federal, and local labor laws. And this current environment's no exception. You can't skirt your requirements under the law. So I think it's important. We're going to go through this list of some top type of claims that businesses might be facing in this sort of environment, and just give some thought to that. So first of all, like you mentioned, whistleblowing or retaliation claims. So basically someone would be saying along the lines of, I reported unsafe, unhealthy conditions at work, and then my manager came down on me for that and fired me in retaliation for making those complaints.
Got it.
And certainly whistleblowing has always been a concern for businesses, but now we've got this additional layer of, like, you've got to have workplace hygiene, social distancing, you've got to comply with the state orders, the local county orders with respect to reopening, all those social distancing protocols.
Yeah.
And you might get employees coming in and saying, well, I'm noticing that the company isn't really following those protocols and it makes it unsafe.
So it's really important for companies to make sure they look at those protocols with the, and make sure they take the certain steps. I mean, I've already heard of my dentist. He's put new air filters in. He's put the lights, what are those, UV lights in. Everybody's wearing masks. I mean, it's crazy what you have to do now. And I know this is going to be a big burden on employers, but I guess it's just something we need to do.
Absolutely. So I think the main thing companies can do to protect themselves from these sorts of claims are two things. Number one, have those protocols, develop them, publish them, give them to employees, post them, and make sure employees understand how seriously businesses are taking these obligations.
Should you have employees sign off on it, like they've read it? Or
signing off is nice. It's a good record, but at least push the protocols out and train and educate everyone on how to follow them. Okay. And then also, just like any other issue, have an open door of communication. If someone wants to point out, hey, I noticed so-and-so's not wearing their mask, or they're not following hygiene standards, or I think this part is unsafe because of the pandemic, to have an
Right.
open door and a channel of communication and a process, just like if someone was making a harassment complaint or a discrimination complaint, have a process for going through, responding to that, and not ignoring it, not diminishing it, but being on the record for taking those sorts of things seriously.
Okay. And I guess that kind of leads us into kind of unsafe working conditions. That's something on our list we were going to chat about. Um, I guess how does that work with the COVID-19? Maybe you can just expand real quick. I'm trying to
Sure.
understand this as we go. So
Right. So we're going to talk. There's sort of a little overlap here. So
okay.
unsafe working conditions. We've got the basic county and state orders as far as safety. In some industries, but not all, there may be OSHA or Cal OSHA obligations with respect to special protections that need to be dealt with, airborne pathogens and that sort of thing. And so again, employees may be complaining to a state agency, hey, our company isn't following these safety guidelines, and that may result in an agency investigation or some sort of closure order or something problematic like that.
Wow. I feel bad for all these businesses. Oh man, it's tough. So what about, I guess the Family, Medical Leave Act and the Family's First Coronavirus Response Act. Can you kind of give us kind of a heads up on that? I'm still trying to, I've read through some of this, the literature, but I'm still don't have a clear understanding of it.
Yeah, so basically, if you're a company with under 500 employees, you need to be attentive to this sort of expansion, I would call it, of FMLA leave. It's basically a federal paid sick leave program.
Okay.
It covers different types of issues. It may cover, first of all, the employee's own illness or sickness because of COVID-19, or they're quarantined by order of a county or a doctor, or they need to stay home to care for a school-age kid because the kid is out of school and has no place to go and obviously needs supervision. I know you have a kid that you got to watch over.
Oh, I know all about it. Yeah. She's not here right now, but she'll be coming today. So yeah.
So you can get up to 80 hours for those purposes. And then beyond that, another 10 weeks potentially for caring for school-aged kids as well. So I think any employer that's in that mid-sized range of 500 or fewer employees needs to read up and make sure that they're offering that level of
So it goes down to what, 50 employees, 500 to 50?
Right. So it actually goes down to any number of employees, but for smaller businesses, there's a potential for a carve out for financial hardship. And so we don't have time in our little talk today to get into that, but if you're a smaller business, you should look to see if you have a hardship exemption. And if so, you can consider not having to pay the sick pay. But don't just assume because you're a small business, it doesn't apply to you.
Right. So I guess I have kind of a side question here. We've kind of hit a paradigm shift where we're all kind of moving towards working from home. And what kind of liability, is there any liabilities there that, employers might, be responsible for with people working from home or?
Sure. I think you've got to be careful that to make sure that all the workplace rules that you have when people are working in the office, they should follow the employee's home. Everything from wage and hour, compliance, taking track of all hours, making sure meal and rest breaks are taken, all that sort of thing for your non-exempt hourly employees.
Wow.
Providing them the right equipment and, if necessary, reimbursing them for any expenses related to telecommuting, like cell phones and all of that. So you got to.
What about setting up workstations too? Are they responsible for that? Like home workstations?
I would say maybe, but for the most part, most people have a table, a chair, something at home where they can sit down with a laptop and do their work. So most businesses aren't having to pay for an office setup at someone's home. But basics like telecommunication charges and that sort of thing might have to be considered.
Okay. Which kind of leads me to that other point we were chatting about, which is unemployment. And I think everybody should know about this because right now with unemployment and COVID-19, they're actually getting paid an extra $600 a week. Is that right?
That's right. So we have the state unemployment benefits, which can be in the range of, let's say, $400 a week. And then the federal benefits kick in, I think, through July, and they add an additional $600 a week to people who are receiving the state benefits. Wow. So in that case, unemployed people, obviously they're in financial hardship right now. They get a temporary boost to their benefits.
So some people might not want to go back to work, but you were telling me that if they're offered the job back, so are they still employed or are they going to offer the job back? I guess they would be unemployed, really.
Well, so a common scenario might be that the employees were furloughed or laid off
Right.
because businesses were ordered to shut down or for economic reasons in recent months. Now businesses are looking to reopen, and so they're inviting their employees, we want to reinstate you as of this date, same wage, same position, and they're encountering a few employees. This isn't, widespread, but a few employees might say, no thanks, I'd rather stay at home, collect unemployment, I'm doing pretty good with that. And the problem with those employees is if they're offered reinstatement, and they turn down that position, the EDD may revoke their unemployment benefits.
Oh
And
my
not
God.
only that, from the date of offer forward, they may try to recoup the payments that were made in error. So that could be a problem for certain employees who decide not to come back to work. Now, of course, they may have legitimate reasons for not returning to work, child care or an illness
Right.
or something like that. But for the people
Right.
that don't have the reason, this could be a problem for them.
Okay. So when they return them back, when employees come back to work, do they have to go through the whole onboarding process again? Or do you recommend that or?
So I think that there should be some basic paperwork, an offer of reinstatement specifying the date, the wages, the position,
Okay.
and also some sort of in the offer letter or some other documentation basically stating that the employee is subject to all the terms and conditions offered before, employee handbooks, anti-discrimination policies, wage and hour policies, anything else that they've signed off on, non-disclosure agreements, whatever else they've signed. Or at least, either have them sign some general document like that, or maybe have them re-sign your employment documents. But it is an exit from employment followed by a rehire. So there needs to be some care about making sure all those pieces do get back in place.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds like a lot of work for everybody. Is there anything else that we haven't mentioned? I mean, we could go on all day, with potential liabilities with employers, but is there like one thing that really sticks out to you that we might not have covered?
I think we did a good job of covering things, but I think the main
Okay.
thing is to have that plan in place. I know not all companies are yet allowed to reopen, but make sure you're working on your plan, your workplace protocol plan for social distancing, et cetera. Have your logistics set up for ramping up your employees and so forth. Make sure that you give good attention to that. And then make sure to educate your employees on expectations with respect to hygiene and all these other issues that we were talking about to minimize the types of legal claims that we're seeing already get filed against some businesses across the country.
Oh, wow. You're already seeing it. That's crazy.
Yes. Yep.
Oh my God. People are just now getting back to work and they're already getting legal claims. Well, I know this has definitely been a different time in our world right now, but, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. Is it okay if we put your information down below and people can contact you?
Yeah, please. I'd be happy to share resources, any information that businesses need. We're trying to help businesses get back up on their feet.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for joining me today. And I've already learned a couple things. So anyways, thanks again. I appreciate it.
Steve.
And we'll talk soon.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thanks.